Kalle, nice to see you again. How was that press conference for you? What are your takeaways from it?
Yeah, I mean, lively, especially the face-to-face. Didn't quite see that one coming. It was aggressive but respectful before that point. I think Joe wanted to make a statement. I think he feels a bit disregarded, given that he's the former top 10 in the world, 9-0 WBA international champion. And, I tried to get it out of him, but he didn't quite say he didn't come out with it. And I think that he feels that, I think there's a bit of, I'm not going to say jealousy, but the words sort of, he thinks these young guys, and he is younger than him, and he wants to make a statement. He said, I'll meet you toe-to-toe in the ring. That's great for us watching. Fantastic viewing. I'm not sure he'll go with that tactic. It's my opinion, but we'll see.
Now, as a fan, obviously, KSI and this whole YouTube scene, he did appear to be a bit quieter today. Did you pick up on that, or?
I think it's his first time that he's in against a 9-0 pro. I think that, he answered pretty sternly. At the same time, he's listening, he's watching. It's different when you're fighting another crossover boxer and when you're fighting a guy who has held a WBA international championship.
Now, as a man that's watched lots of boxing over his time, how do you compare Tommy Fury to Joe Fournier?
From their records, quite similar. Different styles of boxing. Tommy Fury works off a great jab. Is a developing fighter as well, a lot younger. Whereas Joe sort of, he's been to number 10 in the world. Tommy hasn't done that yet, but he obviously, has a bright career ahead of him. So similar but different.
Now, obviously, KSI and Jake Paul, they're on a collision course right now. But if Joe Fournier beats KSI, could we see Joe Fournier, Jake Paul on Misfits?
It's Misfits, anything possible, but I'm KSI's man. I talk victory. We're getting a big win on May 13th.
Well, thank you very much for your time, KSI's man.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, Kalle, could you reveal a little bit of that chat that was going on between KSI and Joe in their face-off?
Yeah, it was about size. JJ said, you're a bit smaller than I remembered, but you had heels on last time. No, it was a back and forth. It was banter, and I think that the push was premeditated. I think he wanted to do that today. I think he wanted to make him feel like, he's taking this very seriously. At the end of the day, he seems to have settled very well in life, Joe Fournier. He's not really got a reason to come back to the ring. He achieved the top 10 ranking. He achieved the WBA international championship. So why come back? It's not a money thing. So he's there. He wants to show the young lion that Daddy Lion's here, and he's here to make a statement. I think that push was a little bit about that. I think it was premeditated. I don't think it came out of the banter. The banter was harmless. It was back and forth, and I've heard that said before on at face-to-faces. It was quite amusing. I think you probably pick up a chuckle of mine, but I didn't see the push coming. But I think it was premeditated. I think he knew that before those eyes separated, he was gonna give him a dig. And sometimes you fighters are told in the first round, you can have a quiet first round, but make him feel your power in that first round. It's very often in pro fights, and I think there was a bit of that in there. Just give him a shove, let him feel that physical strength.
Because usually KSI is the aggressor when it comes to press conferences, pushes, things like that. But with this fight, he's got a different attitude.
Yeah, I mean that could have changed after that push. We'll find out. What I would say is, it's the first time he's been in against this level of opposition. It's a different sort of, he doesn't come from the crossover world. He's got a different degree of respect. Now, whether that respect is still there after that push, we're going to have some other media events before the big fight week, and we'll find out.
Do you sense any sort of nerves from KSI? Because usually he speaks in absolutes. I will knock you out, but this time he's posted saying, "If I beat Joe."
Yeah. Once again, I think it was certainly not nerves. The man don't have nerves. I think it was more that he respected the opponent. You have to, on paper, you have to respect a man who's 9-0, was number 10 in the world by one of the big governing bodies, held that belt that currently Josh Buatsi holds, or certainly did hold, and I think it's a bit of that. It's different. It's a different. For him, it's a different space. He sees it as a pro fight against a pro fighter. So I don't know whether it's that. But like I said, after that push, that might be all out the window.
As you talk sports here, so at the Misfits 007 press conference, first thing I want to ask you about is, do you think that KSI taking on Joe Fournier is the toughest challenge that anybody in this influencer scene to take on?
I think it's up there with Jake's Tommy Fury fight. Similar records. Could argue that Fury's the younger of the two, but I would also argue that Joe's probably been through the mill more, so the experience is obviously on Joe's side. So yeah, it's the equal toughest, I'd say. But let's not forget the other man fell short. Jake Paul fell short. He fell short, and the question now is whether KSI can not fall short and cement what would be the first ever real crossover win against a legitimate pro.
And we've not really heard about any other fights that are going to be on the undercard. Can you tease any names that possibly could be on there? With Salt Packer, we've heard Michael Buffer wants that.
Well, you're going to see all the big Misfits names. That's what I will tell you today. You're going to see all the big Misfits names. You're going to see Salt Pappy, Deji potentially, Swarms potentially. There's some really good names, but I'm not going to say we're going to drip feed it, but we're going to come out with that separately to today. Today was about the main event, and you can expect on May 13th an absolutely stacked card. In fact, it's so stacked that we're trying to work out how we can fit it all in.
Thank you. I'll speak to you after.
Firstly, I wanted to ask you in regards to David Haye. Obviously, he's been fighting with Joe Fournier, and obviously he's seen KSI's progress in Misfits. In regards to boxers of his caliber, could we see, because Lance has said about pro division in Misfits, could this be a fit for David Haye if it be of interest for him to come into that fold?
Good question. I think David Haye-esque fighters. I don't think David wants to box again, but I was fortunate enough to be working with David as a co-promoter in his career, promoted all his big fights, and he's a legend of the sport, future Hall of Famer. But I do believe there's a space for those sort of big names that either just finished, or on the verge of finishing, or have finished. So you're not far off. I just think it's the right example, but probably the wrong name. But you're thinking on the right levels, yes.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And also I wanted to ask you, because it's been announced a few days ago that WWE and UFC have now merged with Endeavor, parent company to UFC. Obviously, JJ is prime sponsor with UFC. What do you think of that deal going down? And in relation to Misfits boxing, do you see in the future that could be another sort of avenue in making deals with other wrestling promotions or MMA promotions if it were to be the right deal for Misfits?
I mean, the deal's massive. It's a huge thing in that space. And of course, internally, also our traditional boxing. So we looked at how whether that's going to impact traditional boxing. They're going to go into traditional boxing. At the moment, they're not going to roll the brands into one. So, there's not going to suddenly have a WUFC. It's not going to. I don't think they're going to go for that. I think it will just be run
just like
the same way. The question is whether you're going to get people crossing over between the two.
Yes.
I'm not an expert on WWE or UFC. I would just imagine it's quite difficult at the level of UFC, which is professional mixed martial arts, to have a a wrestler who are, I'm not saying that they can't do certain things in the UFC, especially wrestling is a big part of mixed martial arts. I'm aware of that, but at the same time, it is really very different. And they're phenomenal athletes with WWE, but it's a different type of athleticism. So it's a good question, and I guess only the future will tell us. I'm certainly not going to try and predict it, but it's certainly an exciting industry move. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Thanks.